I want you to imagine a very specific kind of silence.
Oh, the worst kind.
Right. It is not a peaceful silence. You're on the phone, you're smiling, you are about to tell the person on the other end of the line.
Somebody you've spoken to every single day for years, by the way.
Yes, every day. You're about to tell them about your afternoon. You take a breath to speak, and then you just hit a brick wall.
But the wall isn't silence, though. It's a sentence. A very, very specific surgical sentence.
It is a devastating sentence. We're looking at a scene today that starts with this exact line. I'm just going to read it. I am starting to see someone, Maya, and I worry that she might misconstrue the relationship between you and me.
Ouch. That is clinical.
It freezes the blood, doesn't it?
It really does, because it's not just a rejection, it is an erasure. In one sentence, this character, Connor, he takes years of profound daily connection and retroactively labels it as, a misunderstanding, or worse, an inconvenience.
An inconvenience, wow.
He's rewriting history while she is literally still living in it.
And that brutal clinical disconnect is really the engine behind the book we are covering today. We're doing a deep dive into Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. And I have to say, just looking at the notes you've prepared for us, if you have ever felt like you were, I don't know, too much or too messy or just wrong for someone on paper, this story creates a very specific kind of anxiety.
Oh, it really does. Hazelwood is doing something so interesting here. She's taking a trope we see everywhere, the age gap. Specifically, a roughly 12 to 15-year difference. And she's interrogating it.
Interrogating it. I mean, that sounds kind of serious for a summer romance.
It is serious. She isn't just using it for the forbidden fruit factor or the spice. She's actually looking at the power dynamics, the ethics of it, and this huge central question. Can you just shut off a profound human connection just because it looks wrong to the outside world? Or, I guess more importantly, because it looks wrong to you?
Okay, so let's set the stage for everyone listening, because the word problematic is right there in the title. What exactly is the problem here?
The problem is essentially a pressure cooker waiting to explode. On one side, we have Maya. She's 23. She's messy. She is brilliant. But she's really struggling to figure out who she is professionally and personally. And then on the other side, we have Connor Harkness.
The guy on the phone, the one who delivered the line.
The guy on the phone, yes. He is 35 plus. He is wealthy, established in high finance. And here is the real kicker. He is Maya's brother's best friend.
Okay. The brother's best friend trope. A classic. But usually isn't that trope just about, trying not to get caught?
Usually, yeah. But here it's about not destroying this person's life. Connor genuinely believes that being with Maya would be an act of total destruction.
So after that awful phone call I quoted, what actually happens?
Silence. Absolute radio silence. For 10 months.
Wow.
Maya is completely heartbroken. She's spiraling. She is trying to date other people just to cope. And of course, the universe forces a reunion. It's a destination wedding in Sicily. Maya's the groom's sister, Connor's the best man, and they're stuck in a villa together for an entire week.
Forced proximity.
With absolutely nowhere to hide.
Okay, so the mission for this deep dive today is to unpack that week in Sicily. The whole pressure cooker. But I really want to start before that, because I feel like to understand why the wedding week is such a massive disaster, we have to understand the 10 months before it. Or rather, the years before it.
You're totally right. We have to do an anatomy of the estrangement, essentially. Because if we don't understand the depth of what they lost, the tension in Sicily just feels like, I don't know, lust. And it is so much more than that.
Let's look at the relationship before you cut her off. You mentioned they talked every day. Was this an actual affair? Was he cheating on someone? Was she?
The text frames it as a classic emotional affair. And this is a really important distinction the author makes early on. This wasn't physical. This all happened while Maya was doing her master's degree in Edinburgh, Scotland. Connor wasn't even there. He was in the U.S.
So they are thousands of miles apart.
Exactly. But they were on the phone constantly. Hours and hours at a time, every single day.
See, that's what I really want to dig into. How do you build that level of dependency with someone you aren't actually seeing? I mean, without the physical component, is it really that deep?
There's a psychological concept at play here, often called the intimacy of distance.
The intimacy of distance. That almost sounds like an oxymoron.
It does, but think about it. When you're in a room with someone, there are all these physical cues. You're worried about how you look, you're monitoring their body language, physical touch, navigating sexual tension. When you remove the physical completely, the phone acts as a guardrail.
Guardrail.
Yes. It makes you feel incredibly safe. You feel like you can be completely vulnerable, like you can just bare your soul because the physical line cannot be crossed. You literally aren't in the same room. So Maya and Connor use that safety to go much, much deeper than they probably would have if they were just neighbors.
So what were they actually talking about? Was it just flirting for hours?
Far from it. He became her total lifeline. Maya talks about how he edited her papers for grad school. He listened to her spiral about her career choices. She has this massive internal tension throughout the book between going into academia, which is safe and respectable, or going into industry, into the corporate world.
And he's the corporate guy.
He is.
Yeah.
But he knew the inner workings of her mind better than anyone else in her life. He knew her intellectual insecurities, her dreams, her fears.
Better than her actual boyfriend. Because she had one, right?
She did. She was dating a guy named Alfie. But the text makes it very clear that Alfie was the boyfriend on paper. Connor was the partner in practice.
Okay, so that context totally changes the phone call for me. When he says, I'm seeing someone, I don't want her to misconstrue us, he's essentially gaslighting her, isn't he? Because if I'm the new girlfriend and I find out you're editing another woman's grad school papers for 3 hours a night, I am not misconstruing anything. That is a relationship.
Precisely. And that's why the rejection absolutely destroys Maya. Connor decides, unilaterally, that the relationship is inappropriate. He slams the door shut, and he uses ethics as the lock.
Let's pause on ethics for a second, because this comes up a lot in age gap discourse. Connor is the older man. He is the mentor figure. Is he, playing devil's advocate here, is he wrong?
That is the central tension of the entire novel.
Because if I'm looking at this from the outside, I see a 35-year-old wealthy man cutting off a highly dependent relationship with a 23-year-old girl who is, by the way, dating someone else. That actually sounds like the responsible adult thing to do. Isn't he kind of the good guy here?
On paper, absolutely. He tells himself he is protecting her. He looks at the dynamic and thinks, I am taking advantage of her. She relies on me too much. She's too young. He completely frames his withdrawal as a moral act.
But I hear a very big but coming.
But look at the way he does it. He didn't have a mature conversation with her about boundaries. He didn't empower her to make a choice or adjust the dynamic. He just cut her off. And that leaves Maya in a terrible, terrible headspace. She doesn't think, oh, he's being noble. She thinks, I was too much.
Right. She internalizes it as a flaw in herself.
Completely. She starts to spiral. She has this incredibly sad internal monologue where she looks back at Scotland Maya, the version of herself that Connor supposedly loved, and she starts deconstructing her. She worries that she was just a pick-me girl.
Can we define that for a second? Pick-me gets thrown around a lot online.
In this specific context, she worries she was performing a role. The cool girl. The girl who is not like other girls, seeking validations, specifically from an older, powerful man, just to prove her own worth. She thinks, did I just trick him into liking me? And now he sees right through it.
That is a really dark place to be, thinking your entire personality was just a performance.
It gets worse.
Yeah.
Because right around this exact time, her actual boyfriend, Alfie, dumps her.
Of course. When it rains, it pours.
And the reason Alfie leaves is crucial for understanding Maya's psychology going into this destination wedding. Alfie leaves her for a woman named Georgia.
And let me guess, Georgia is absolutely perfect.
Georgia is described as effortless. She's easy. She is uncomplicated.
Which makes Maya feel
messy.
Yeah.
Difficult, problematic. She feels like the word problematic isn't just a description of her relationship with Connor. She feels like it's a description of her soul. She thinks she is literally broken because she feels things so intensely.
So fast forward to the wedding. She has to go to Sicily. She knows Connor will be there. She feels like a total mess. What is her strategy going in?
Her strategy is sanitization.
Sanitization, like bleach.
That is literally the imagery she uses. She wants to drink bleach to clean herself out. She wants to redact her own personality.
That is horrifying imagery.
It is visceral self-loathing. She decides that if messy Maya got her heart broken, then sanitized Maya will survive the week. She wants to be cool. She wants to be completely distant. She wants to prove to Connor, and mostly to herself, that she is an adult who does not need his validation.
I am going to act like a grown-up if it kills me.
Exactly. She wants to be a pabbed guidebook.
A what?
It's this great metaphor that comes up a bit later. Maya has a travel guide for Sicily. It's beat up, it's dog-eared, the spine is breaking, there are coffee stains all over it.
Okay, a well-loved book.
Right. Then she meets Avery.
Avery's the ex.
Avery is Connor's ex-girlfriend. She's also at the wedding. And Avery has the exact same guidebook. But Avery's copy is pristine. It's color-coded with little sticky tabs. It's perfectly organized.
And Maya looks at that and thinks, that's what I need to be.
Right. But as we move into the next phase of our discussion, the pressure cooker of it all, we are going to see that you cannot sanitize yourself in Sicily.
No. I've never been, but I hear the Mediterranean humidity is totally undefeated.
The setting is practically a character in itself here. Hazelwood describes Sicily with these intense, heavy sensory details. It's not just sunny. It is lemon water melting in the sun. It's sweat physically sticking your clothes to your back. The bougainvillea everywhere is overwhelming.
It's very visceral.
It's oppressive. The atmosphere completely mirrors the internal state of the characters. There is literally nowhere to hide. It's a tiny group, less than a dozen people, trapped in a villa for a week. So Maya is physically trapped in this stifling heat with the man who broke her heart.
And the ex-girlfriend Avery, let's talk about her.
And the ex. Now, normally in a romance novel, the ex-girlfriend is the villain, right? She's catty, she's mean, she pulls the heroine aside and tells her to back off.
Right, she spills red wine on the heroine's white dress, she makes snide comments about her hair.
Exactly. But Hazelwood completely subverts that. Avery is lovely.
Which is so much worse.
It is infinitely worse. If Avery were mean, Maya could be angry. She could play the victim. But because Avery is kind and smart and incredibly welcoming, Maya has absolutely nowhere to direct her anger. She looks at Avery, this pristine, tabbed guidebook of a woman, and thinks, well, of course Connor wants her. She's perfect, and I am dog-eared.
It just confirms her bias that she is the problem. It's almost psychological warfare, even if Avery doesn't mean it to be.
But Avery actually drops the first real clue that Maya's internal narrative is totally wrong. There's a quiet conversation they have where Avery talks about why she and Connor broke up.
Oh, what does she say?
She says he is emotionally unavailable. She outright warns Maya. She says, the nice ones fall easily, but Connor is the mean one.
The mean one. That is a heavy label for a guy everyone else seems to respect so much.
She implies that Connor hasn't experienced a genuine human feeling since the 90s. It's a warning from Avery, but for us analyzing the text, it's a diagnostic. Connor isn't this perfect ethical statue. He's a man who has completely walled himself off.
He's numb.
He's numb. And Maya's the only thing that makes him feel anything, which is exactly why he's so terrified of her.
We also really need to talk about the business side of Connor, because we see him in work mode at the villa, right? He's not just sitting around drinking wine and eating pasta for a week.
We do. And this is where the specific language of the book really matters. There's a scene where he's on a conference call with a colleague named Molnar.
Yeah.
And he is just tearing this guy apart.
Like a verbal evisceration.
Total destruction. But look at the words he uses. He's yelling about a CIM and a deck.
Okay, stop right there. CIM. We hear these acronyms in movies all the time, but what is he actually talking about? Is this just generic business talk?
No, it's very specific. A CIM is a confidential information memorandum. In investment banking or private equity, when you're selling a massive company, you create a CIM. It's a 50 to 100-page book that tells potential buyers everything they could possibly want to know about the business. It is essentially the Bible of the deal.
So if the CIM is bad,
the deal dies. Millions of dollars in fees just evaporate. So when Connor is yelling about the CIM being a macaroni craft project, which is the actual insult he uses, he isn't just being a jerk boss. He's signaling that he operates at the absolute highest level of high finance. The stakes are incredibly high.
And Maya's listening to all of this.
She is. And for Maya, who is currently struggling to figure out her own career path, watching him wield that kind of power is intoxicating.
It's competence porn.
It is absolute competence porn. He is ruthless, he is wealthy, and he is very good at what he does. It intimidates her, constantly reminding her of the power gap. He's a master of the universe, she's a student, but it also deeply attracts her.
It reinforces the problem in her head. He's the adult running the world, and she's the child.
And that sets up the conflict perfectly. We have the heat, the proximity, the perfect ex, the ruthless businessman. Maya's plan to be polite and indifferent is about to violently collide with reality.
And I bet it doesn't last long.
It lasts about 5 minutes.
Let's get into the struggle. Because the resistance crumbles, but not without a serious fight.
It starts with these little verbal jabs. Maya tries to be cool, casually asking about his girlfriend, the one he mentioned of that awful phone call. And Connor corrects her immediately.
What did he say?
He says, that's precisely it. She's not a girl.
Ooh. Girl versus woman, that is a very loaded correction.
It is incredibly loaded. On the surface, he's just clarifying. He's saying, I date adults. But underneath that, He is drawing a hard line in the sand. He's saying, you, Maya, are a girl. The people I date are women. You are on the other side of the fence.
It's a verbal barrier.
It is. And he tries to maintain that barrier by acting like a mentor again. He keeps asking her about her career, industry, or academia, Maya. Have you decided?
Why does he keep bringing that up? Is he just making awkward small talk?
No, it's that guardrail again. If he can force her to talk about her master's thesis or her job offers, he doesn't have to talk about the fact that he cannot stop staring at her mouth. He's desperately trying to keep the relationship intellectual because the physical reality of being in the same space is becoming impossible to ignore.
But then the elevator scene happens.
Yeah.
And the physical barrier just shatters.
This is a massive, high-impact moment. They're in an elevator, small space, extreme force proximity, and the tension just finally snaps.
And Connor says this line that I think is the absolute key to the whole book. I want to read it. He says, it's not about revealing. It's the way you take over the space around you. It's impossible to escape, and it makes me very angry.
Let's really unpack that. It makes me very angry.
Yeah, why is he angry? That seems like a really weird reaction to intense attraction.
He isn't angry at her for being immature. He isn't angry at her for being messy. He is angry at his own lack of control.
Ah.
She takes over the space. Her vibrancy, her mere existence, threatens his resolve. He has spent months building this fortress of ethics and logic. I am too old, she's too young, this is wrong. And her just being in the room blows that fortress up. He views her aliveness as a direct threat to his discipline.
It's the turning point, because up until now, Maya thought he rejected her because she wasn't enough. Here, she realizes he rejected her because she was too much for him to handle.
Precisely. And this leads directly to the core problematic argument of the story. They finally hash it out. Connor lays out his logic perfectly. He's taking advantage of her. She is 23, he is 35 plus. He genuinely believes that by being with her, he is limiting her options. He thinks she needs to experience the world, date people her own age, not get tied down to an older man.
Which honestly sounds noble, right? I mean, if I were his friend, I might tell him the exact same thing. Let her live a little, Connor.
On paper, it is the ethical stance, but Maya flips it. And this is the core feminist argument of the book. She argues for agency.
She tells him, basically, you deciding for me is more controlling than you dating me.
Exactly. By deciding for her that she is too young, he is stripping her of her autonomy. He is treating her like a child, which is the very thing he claims he wants to avoid doing.
That is a really interesting paradox. He's trying so hard not to be the controlling older man that he actually ends up completely controlling her relationship choices.
We call this protective paternalism. It's this idea that I know better than you what's good for you. And even though it comes from a place of care, it's actually a deep denial of the other person's capacity to know their own mind.
Maya even compares herself to Rue, her brother's fiancé. Rue's around the same age, right?
Yes. And Maya demands to be treated as a peer who is allowed to make her own mistakes. She effectively says, if I want to ruin my life with you, that is my choice to make. You do not get to save me from myself.
That is powerful. It shifts the entire dynamic from victim and predator to adult and adult.
It does. It forces Connor to confront the uncomfortable fact that his ethics might just be a convenient shield for his own fear.
So the struggle is very real. They are fighting, they are debating ethics, but they are also inevitably crashing toward each other. Which brings us to the insight phase, because eventually the intellectual words stop working.
And we get the I love you standoff.
This scene is intense. They are arguing, and Maya just weaponizes it. She throws it right at him. I love you.
And his reaction is silence. He flat out refuses to say it back.
Which hurts. God, as a reader, that hurts.
It hurts, but you have to analyze the silence. Maya realizes something profound in that moment. She says, he can't even lie to me.
What does she mean by that exactly?
If he didn't love her, he could have just said, Maya, I don't feel the same way. Or he could have lied and said, I don't love you, to make her go away, to finally save her.
But he can't do it.
He can't. His silence is an admission. He loves her so much that he physically cannot deny it, but his precious ethics won't let him say it out loud. The silence confirms his feelings more than any words could.
And then the guardrails finally come down completely. We have the beach scene. They are out in the water.
The imagery here is so important. Water implies a total loss of footing, being submerged. You cannot stand on solid ground in the ocean. And that's exactly where Connor finally breaks.
He admits it. He says, I've been desperately trying to navigate the best fucking thing that's ever happened to me and still be fair to you.
The best thing that's ever happened to me. That is a massive admission for a man who has been presenting himself as this stoic, unfeeling mentor figure.
And this is where we finally learn about his deeper motivation, writers. It's not just abstract ethics, it is trauma. Why is he so obsessed with this age gap?
It's his father.
Of course, it is always the parent.
Connor mentions his father and all those women. He talks about how ridiculous it looked. Connor has this deep generational fear. He grew up watching his father use wealth and power to just cycle through young women.
He is terrified of becoming his dad.
He is terrified of being the cliché, the rich older man with a naive trophy girlfriend. He has internalized this ick factor so deeply that he's willing to deny himself the best thing that ever happened to him just to avoid seeing that reflection in the mirror.
It's tragic, really. He's actively punishing himself for his father's sins.
And he's punishing Maya, too. By trying so hard to avoid being his father, he's failing to see Maya as an individual. He's seeing her as a demographic, the young girlfriend, instead of Maya, the specific person who knows his soul.
But thankfully, the other people in their lives step in to help clear the air. We talked about Avery earlier. Avery actually gives her blessing.
Avery knew all along. That's the great irony. Maya was so worried about Avery judging her, but Avery tells her, "You aren't doing it wrong." Avery sees that Maya and Connor have a raw connection that she and Connor never, ever had.
And Eli, the brother, the one person Connor was most afraid of upsetting. I mean, the brother's best friend trope usually hinges on the brother punching the guy in the face.
Right. But Eli's intervention is crucial. He essentially tells Maya, "I know what's going on. I'm your brother. I'm protective, but I respect you." He gives her permission to be an adult. It removes the very last external barrier. The only barrier left is Connor's internal one.
So we're heading toward the resolution now. The barriers are crumbling, but we need a climax. And in true romance novel fashion, it involves a business trip.
Of course it does. The Molnar situation blows up. There's a massive crisis with the CTO. Connor has to leave Sicily immediately.
And Maya thinks this is it. He's choosing business. He's running away again.
It feels exactly like the beginning of the book again. The cold withdrawal.
But he doesn't stay away this time.
He flies back early.
He chooses her over the crisis. This is so significant for the ruthless businessman persona we established earlier. He leaves money on the table, a huge deal, to come back to her.
It's the ultimate proof that his priorities have permanently shifted. He isn't the mean one anymore, or at least he's willing to be mean to Molnar, to be good to Maya.
And the scene where he actually returns is, well, it's hilarious. It's the knife scene.
Maya is sleeping in his room. She hears someone come in. She assumes it's an intruder, so she grabs a knife.
She is wearing his shirt, hair in messy braids, wielding a steak knife.
And Connor walks in to find the woman he loves ready to literally stab him.
It's so Maya. It's so incredibly messy.
And it's perfect because it totally breaks the tension. It's not a sanitized romantic reunion with rose petals and soft music. It is chaotic. It's dangerous. And he loves it.
This leads to the final verdict of the story. The title of the book is Problematic Summer Romance. But by the end, they basically reclaim that word, don't they?
They do. Connor admits that he loves her precisely because she is trouble. He literally calls her a constant stream of trouble.
He says, I want to be miserable with you.
Which is a very Connor way of saying, I want to be happy with you. He accepts that life with Maya won't be the calm, orderly, tabbed guidebook life. It's going to be the dog-eared, messy life. And he realizes that's actually exactly what he wants.
And he says, I love you again, but this time...
He says, it wasn't my first time saying it, but it was my first time meaning it.
Oh, that line. Take that, Avery. Just kidding. We love Avery.
But it confirms Avery's theory completely. He was emotionally unavailable before. With Maya, he is finally fully present.
And the commitment. He doesn't just say, let's date. He says, I want to get married. He goes all in.
He stops trying to navigate the relationship. He stops trying to steer the ship safely from a distance and decides to just inhabit it. He fully accepts the mess.
So let's zoom out a bit. We've unpacked the story. What does this all mean for us? Why does this specific book resonate so strongly?
I think it really comes down to that core tension between agency and protection.
Right.
In relationships with power imbalances, whether it's age, wealth, or workplace status, the ethical choice is often assumed to be to step back. We tell the person with more power, you must protect the other person.
Which makes sense. We want to avoid exploitation. We see terrible examples of this all the time in the real world.
Absolutely. And those safeguards are incredibly important. But Hazelwood asks a harder question. At what point does stepping back become a denial of the other person's autonomy? At what point does protecting someone just become controlling them? Maya didn't need protection from Connor. She needed Connor to trust that she knew what she was doing.
She needed him to see her as a peer, not a project to manage.
Exactly. And that links directly to the second big takeaway, the messy self.
Maya spent the whole book thinking she needed to sanitize herself. She thought she had to be like Avery, perfect, calm, organized, just to be worthy of love.
But the irony is, Connor fell in love with her, specifically because of how she takes up space. He fell in love with the mess. The message for you listening is really powerful. You don't need to bleach your personality to be worthy of love. True connection isn't about perfection, it's about resonance.
And finally, there's the intellectual intimacy piece.
This is key. The relationship worked because they spent years just talking.
The ultimate slow burn.
It wasn't just physical attraction, it was a meeting of minds first. That foundation, built over those hundreds of hours of long-distance phone calls, is what allowed the relationship to survive the age gap, the wealth gap, and his generational trauma. Physical attraction is great, but intellectual intimacy is the actual glue.
It's such a good point. If you take away the sex, do you still have a conversation? For them, the answer was obviously yes.
A resounding yes.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into problematic summer romance, I want to leave you with a thought.
Go for it.
We spend a lot of time worrying about optics. How does this relationship look from the outside? Is it problematic? Is it appropriate? We label things constantly based on external stats: age, status, job title.
We check the boxes, we look at the data points, and make a judgment.
Exactly. But maybe the true problematic behavior isn't the age gap. Maybe it's the refusal to be vulnerable. Maybe ethics is sometimes just a fancy costume for cowardice.
Wow, that's a heavy question. Is your principled stand actually just a fear of getting hurt?
Something to think about next time you're trying to talk yourself out of a feeling because it doesn't look good on paper. Sometimes the smartest decision isn't the logical one, it's the one that feels true in the quiet.
Well said.
This has been The Deep Dive. Thanks for listening.